Welcome to the Limitless Ladies Network, a women's holistic wellness podcast where our mission is to help women build holistic self-care. The following disclaimer applies to all episodes and content shared on this show. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Limitless Ladies Network or its affiliates. The information and advice provided on this podcast are for general educational purposes only and should not be considered as professional medical, nutritional, or therapeutic advice. The content shared on this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. Listeners are advised to consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to their diet, lifestyle, or health routine. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are aware of the limitations and potential risks associated with the information and advice shared on this show. You release and hold harmless Limitless Ladies Network, its hosts, guests, and affiliates from any liability for any damages, losses, or injuries that may result from the use of the information and advice provided on this podcast. Great. Welcome to the Limitless Ladies Network, where our mission is to help women build holistic, empathetic self-care. It's my pleasure to have with me today Jenavieve Hawks of iSong Health to talk about a unique holistic practice called Iridology. So welcome, Jenavieve. I'm excited to have you on with me today to really dive into this whole fascinating holistic modality that you're going to share with us today. So tell us.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you for joining me, and tell me and our audience exactly how you got inspired to get into iridology.
So I first got my master's in herbalism, and that's what I did for maybe like 10 years before really getting into iridology, potato, potato. But I did master herbalism for the last 10 years. I still do it. But every once in a while, I would get a few people that it would just be such a mind scratcher because whatever herbs or nutrition or anything physical I tried to give them that had helped, like hundreds, some thousands of people, it wouldn't touch their issues. It wouldn't touch the symptoms. It wouldn't do a thing for them. But something I noticed with each one of these people is they all had some sort of a trauma or some kind of spiritual issue, something happening in their life that wasn't necessarily physical. And so I thought to myself, maybe if we just shift focus and working on that a little bit, we can get somewhere. So we started working with more of that, and the people that were actually able to really resolve their traumas and let these things go, their symptoms disappeared. And I mean, some of these people have been to doctor after doctor, test after test, and nothing could reveal what was going on. In fact, they have many doctors even telling them there's nothing wrong. We don't see anything here, which is something. Right. Yes, it's something we hear a lot of the time. But if you're in your body and you're feeling pain or anything like that, to hear that is just heartbreaking, having someone not believe you.
Yes.
Again. So, like I said, we switched to working on kind of more of the mind with the body. And that's where I really started seeing the differences. So I thought to myself, this must be exactly where the term mind body connection comes from, because they're very connected. So I actually went back to my school to see if there was like any courses or anything that would point me in this direction where I could learn more about the mental and physical connection. And I found iridology. So not only did it connect, as I was reading the course syllabus, not only did it connect the emotions with the physical and disease, but also it shows genetics. And it was almost like it takes the guesswork out of everything. It's like having a TV screen right into your eye, how everything formed, which, doing herbalism, I didn't have that before. I was just going off of whatever people were telling me that their doctors diagnosed them with or what they needed. And I was just kind of intuitively going that way. Now, mind you, I don't diagnose, I assess levels of health. Right. Diagnosing is for a doctor. So, but still, at the end of the day, it was very nice to see the relief that these people finally had in their lives, and including my own wife too, because let me tell you, it's an eye-opening experience to learn this modality, but you also have to look at your own eyes too. So
Right. Right. That's fascinating that you are able to basically, it's like you're looking into the souls of people, right? By looking through their eyes and seeing deep down issues. And you mentioned traumas. And I do know that trauma goes like generational back,
Yes.
multi-generational, that you can pull out and still be manifesting some of those characteristics of traumas that have happened, right? It's been proven. Um,
Right.
those have suffered through, traumas through Auschwitz and things, right?
Yes, in fact, we can even read that in the irises of the grandchildren or great grandchildren, even at this case.
Mhm.
We can see what happened there. We can not only see just your own mind, body, and traumas, but we can see the epigenetics, the generational transfer of trauma, things you don't even know impact your psyche and your decisions
Mm,
that were it was your grandparents' psyche, things we don't even realize are influencing. So it's amazing to be able to look into your eye like a soul blueprint and see, this is mine. That's not mine, but it's influencing the way I think, and just really pull things up by the root of the weed.
that is
So,
fascinating. Talk about getting to the real root cause of things.
yes, that's why I got to this and got into it because like I said, there was just some root causes that a physical herb was not going to touch. And so it had to be, it's ourselves that we have to heal from within.
Right. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. In this case, we can be our own worst ancestral enemy that we have to
Yeah.
deal with, right? We don't even know, like you said, that they're there.
Hmm.
That's fascinating. I love to hear that you can actually see those things by looking at someone's eyes. So explain to me a little bit about like what that process is when you actually go through a consultation with somebody.
Okay. So, I do a couple of things. Sometimes I will just take a magnifying lens that's special for iridology that's about 4 times to 10 times magnification. And I have a special flashlight made for the eyes where I will go in live and I can kind of look around and talk to them. One of the other methods I use is I actually take a picture of the iris. I prefer to do it this way because that way
Mm.
um, we can turn it around. I can pull it up on a screen and really dive in and show all the little different patterns and all the different things. So it becomes not just a consultation or a session, it almost becomes like an education basically on yourself.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. So
And then from there too, I'll usually, if it's necessary, because I have the background in herbology, I'll assign different herbs, different practices, meditations,
mm,
whatever is necessary for the individual. There's literally no session I've ever done that is ever the same. Even when people come back to me again, it's never the same. So,
hmm. So there's certain conditions that you've really found are helpful with this technique. Like, are you finding, I guess, that there's a commonality with different because you mentioned traumas, but are there certain health issues or symptoms or concerns that people will come to you with?
yeah, people, okay, they come to me for several things, but I'm usually the person that people will come to when they've exhausted all their resources and they've been to everything and everyone and still don't have answers. So the conditions vary. It really depends on the individual. Um, some of the more common things that I notice I get a lot of, especially lately, is I'm getting a lot of creative individuals, very intuitive, creative types that are just stuck. They don't know what to do for their finances or for their career, their relationships. They're truly just these gifted individuals that keep showing up in my office that just need a little help, just a little push of where to go. And sometimes, yeah, it does involve diving into, hey, where did you learn not to express yourself? What happened? What's happening here mentally? Was there something physically that even happened? Because sometimes it can be that way where if we're not feeling so creative and expressing of our art, sometimes it is a physical thing happening in the brain. And then if it's
Oh
something
yeah.
we can cleanse and clear out, we'll work from that way too. So it's just really up to the individual session. but a wide range of things, honestly.
Yeah, but again, blockages, right? We're our own worst enemies most of the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Are there things that you can see, or maybe you can explain a little bit about like the colors or shapes or patterns that you might see that are related to different things?
Yeah. So, um, right off the bat, when you're looking at someone's eyes, you usually tell what eye color they have. Sometimes when people have brown or hazel eyes, it's a little confusing unless you magnify it.
Hmm.
But usually, right off the bat, we can see the color of someone's eyes. So, for instance, different types of blue eyes will have different pre-genetic or pre, excuse me, dispositions
Hmm.
for their genetics. They'll have predispositions.
Okay.
There we go. That was a mouthful.
It is.
But so depending on which color, right, I can usually tell a couple things just based off the color alone.
Wow.
Now, um, for instance, like blue eyes, I see more rheumatic type things. I see a lot more lymphatic issues and like mucosal sensitivities with people that have blue eyes,
Hmm.
even more kidney issues. This isn't to say if you have blue eyes, you're going to experience any of those. It's just
Right.
based off of looking at millions of eyes. We've found there are certain things that occur more in one color versus the other.
Hmm.
Your brown eyes are going to see more liver issues and even blood issues sometimes. And then your mixed irises or your hazel eyes, a lot of the time it will be digestive issues or pancreatic insufficiencies. Now, that's not, like I said, to say every little thing for each eye,
Right.
or that you'll even have any of those things. It's just based off of the color alone. But that's why we take a picture so we can actually dive in. We can see the little fibers, how they're woven, other colors in the eye. It all means something. So, and there's no two eyes that are the same. Even your own eyes, each eye is different entirely. If you ever thought your eyes were the same, just look in the mirror and you will see, oh, they're completely different, but they hold completely different information too.
Wow.
Um, your left eye stores all of your genetics from your mother's side of DNA. It also holds a lot of the feminine energy, a lot of the creative energy, the nurturing energy, and the relationships with that. Where your right eye holds all of your father's genetics. And usually in that eye, that's where we see more things regarding finances, career, outward things, how we generally think more of male energy, but
Hmm.
everyone has both. So it's fascinating. I can't actually tell the gender of someone. That's one of the things you can't do through iridology is you cannot tell someone's gender unless maybe they're wearing like some mascara, but even that doesn't tell you anything anymore. But
Wow. That is
um
fascinating that you can see the differences and gather all of that all from your mom's side versus your dad's side.
yes, because we're a makeup of both energies. We're both feminine and masculine. What the body forms into is a whole nother
Mhm.
story, but it's all there. Everything from the beginning of the spark of your conception
Mhm.
to the end of your life is going to be recorded.
Wow.
So,
And it's interesting that it's split like that, right?
yes,
Mother and father, separate sides. So you can really kind of hone into like, here's the, as you said, like the genetic side of one parent versus the other. Even though you kind of get asked a lot of those questions when you go to the doctors, right? What's your history of your mom or your dad? Sometimes people are truthful, or sometimes you don't even really know what issues that they've had because maybe they haven't told you or they don't even know what they are. But it's interesting.
right.
You can actually really dig deep in to see what those issues might be that they're experiencing.
Yes, we can even spot pathology. We can spot a disease or the potential for it 30 years before it even manifests.
Wow.
So, even in infants, when people bring me their babies or their really young children, we can see all the potentials there. And it's not all bad. We can also see all the potentials for good, at what they came here for, what their mission is. I honestly wish I had an iridologist when I was younger. It would have saved me a lot of time.
Right? So, have you had your eyes done and it basically was like, here's your roadmap of what your purpose is? So it kind of gives you a little bit of that insight.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
absolutely. I look in my eyes were my biggest learning tools while going through this. Yeah, your eyes basically, they don't just show the genetics, they also show a roadmap of potential. It's kind of like it's almost like the whole picture where I think this is just coming to mind, almost like how a sunflower forms and will bloom. We can see the whole process in which it would bloom. We can even see the kind of seed it starts out from.
oh,
So iridology really shows where you've been, where you are, and where you can be. And so very uh very holistic actually.
yeah. It's similar to me, it sounds very similar to a birth chart. So same
Mm,
concept, right? Where from the moment that you were conceived or inception, right? From there, you were sparked with whatever your purpose is potentially, right? And then where your paths should be as you're navigating through life. And you have all these various stages. But again, it's your past, your present, your future. You always have choices to make
mhm.
in life, again, to your potential that you can do. So
Yes.
it's similar. That's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that's actually it's interesting because if you do look at an astrology map, um,
It's a circle.
yes, and it's set up very similar with the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, three. It's set up
Yeah.
very similar to an Irish chart, and I don't want to get too much into this, but there are some connections with that I'm finding with different body parts related to certain planets. I'm
Oh.
working on a system where I can kind of overlay a chart and there's a connection there. So you're on to something, Tammy.
Yeah, that is very cool. I totally love that. And I had actually done a session with an Mystic Cat was her name, and she does tarot card readings and birth charts and all that. And so she had actually explained a lot of it. It's very intense, but very
Yeah,
fascinating. And that's what made me think of it because as she was going through it, it's like, this is pinpointed from your date of birth. And as we move through the universe and the planets change, then obviously things change, and so does your potential for things, right? And you have ebbs and flows through life, but
right.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, very interesting how it was circular like that. So you'll have to keep me updated on that with your new
Okay.
research that you're doing on iridology. That's awesome. All right. So what are there any limitations or drawbacks that you might have come across in using this as a diagnostic tool?
Mm. Well, let me think. If there were limitations or drawbacks, it's one, I can't say the word diagnose, or I have to be very
Right.
careful
You're,
about
yes.
wording. So I would
Right.
say that because well, it's actually not new, but because it's coming back in the United States again, there's some certain regulations, there's certain things that I have to follow
Hmm.
very carefully, but that's not really a drawback. It's more to keep things safe, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting though, because even before like the 1920s and the Rockefellers came into the school systems and whatnot, every medical doctor was actually an iridologist. So it's been taught for some time, but that's a whole nother story. Um, yeah, and as far as drawbacks, I'm trying to really think of one where it's almost would be a disadvantage or but I honestly can't come up with one because it's a map into everything. It's a map into your genetics, your mind, your body, your soul, your thoughts,
Yep. It doesn't seem
everything.
like there would be much of a drawback to it.
It's almost over if there was a drawback, it's because there's so much information and it's can be overwhelming. It's like where do you start? So usually I just start with whatever is the most important things that I see coming to the surface.
Yeah.
So and go from there.
What are some of the benefits? I mean, you explained that you can really kind of dig deep into somebody and see some of the past traumas that they've experienced or, health, we're not doing diagnosis, as you said, right? We're
Mhm.
not here to diagnose, treat, or anything like that, right? It's really just informational purposes. to
Mhm.
give that person some really good insights as to what's happening. But what
Right.
are some of the general kind of wellness things that people have taken away from working with you?
Well, it's really nice to finally understand yourself and the way you work. Because, I mean, we all have a heart, we all have lungs, we all have a stomach, we all have all those things. But for each of us, they work a little bit differently. There's the general processes, but how it all goes into play with your life, it's unique.
Mm,
So it's very beneficial to understand yourself, because if you really understand yourself moving forward, you will make choices that are authentic to that, and your reality will follow that.
mm,
So, um, as far as benefits, even physically, like I said, just understanding your body, understanding your mind, understanding what's yours, what's not. Um, Seeing where you may have a little bit of a block. There's things that even when okay, this was a benefit for me. It didn't feel like it right off at the time. But there's things when we do iridology that you will see that you didn't even realize were there. And it's like a big aha moment. It's like a full circle moment where things just click in a way that it makes sense of the mental, the physical, the spiritual, all of it. It truly is a holistic system. And so, what greater benefit is there than understanding yourself? I mean, what else? What did we come here to do anyway, other than really be ourselves and
right.
enjoy life? I don't think we came here to struggle. I think we came here to experience some different things here. But ultimately, no one wants to struggle. No one wants to be unhappy,
Right.
even even if they act like that sometimes. But truly, no one wants to do that. And so this is a really good way to, like I said, pull things up by the root of the issue and see what's really happening and what you've come here for.
I love that. To have clarity with purpose, if everyone can get those answers, like as you said, when you're a child, and it gives you some direction, and you can be able to move forward with confidence and knowing that you should follow this path or this truly would benefit you versus, possibly something else, right? Have
Right.
you had any young kids that have had their eyes done and just feel like that aha moment where they
Hmm.
feel somewhat connected?
Yeah. So I had a young girl recently who had come to me because, well, her mom brought me. And her mom brought me because she was finding she was really shut down. There was just, she
Mm,
couldn't get through to her. But ultimately, what we found is one, there was some stuff happening with the girl's digestion. She was having a hard time digesting,
mm,
but the things in her family life, even the way her lovely mother was treating her, it was quite hard to digest the actual events that had happened in her life.
yep.
And so we were really able to relate digesting things that have happened to us and how that can even impact our actual physical metabolism.
Mm,
And it was amazing because at the end of it, it was like this sweet girl finally had a voice, because that's what it was really about. She had a tendency more for perfection and wanting to please others, and so she just felt really shut down because she didn't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing when she had a lot of high intensity people around her, a lot of criticism.
mm,
But because of her mom brought us, we were able to kind of create an open dialogue. We were able to create a bridge, and just watching their relationship sort of flower, that that for me was an aha moment, and I think for them too. But it's really, yeah, it's really amazing to watch people grow and just light up when it does click. Like there's really no better feeling in the world. I know even when with myself, I still have moments like that because I'm human too. I'm not perfect or anything. There are plenty of times, even within the last week, where it's been just an aha moment for myself too. So,
that's fantastic. That's a beautiful story about the young girl and her mom connecting. And it makes sense because we all harbor a lot of anxiety and stresses over things, and especially if you're a parent. So that makes total sense. I think it's beautiful.
Mhm. Thank you. It really was.
I'm sure it was. So tell us, where can people find you?
Oh, okay. Yes. A little self promo.
Yes, a little
So,
self-promote.
um, my office is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, but I'm out of Middletown. I also travel, I do things remotely. But if you're interested in a session or connecting with me, you can go to isonghealth.com. I spelled like your actual I, so EYE, songhealth.com. And you can book an appointment with me or just reach out, call me, text me. Let's get connected and see what we can do.
That's fantastic. I think that it is a wonderful service that you're offering to be able to really look deep into someone's eyes, because they do say that your eyes tell stories. So you've proven that they actually do tell a story. And I
Oh,
think that
yes.
is fantastic. And don't forget, people, to look us up on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Check out our YouTube channel where you'll be able to watch this video and our podcast as well. And of course, sign up for our newsletter at limitlessladiesnetwork.com/sign up/sign dash up to get that. And you can also check out my collaborative wellness book, She Glows, Empowering Women Through Wellness and Self-Care. Thank you. I appreciate you joining us today, Genevieve.
Thanks for having me.